Everyone, from me, Brent Graham, you're live Thursday night, 9 o'clock South African time. We've got great rugby to talk about this weekend. We've got the World Cup semi-finals. That's the Women's Rugby World Cup, of course. And we've got the Autumn International Series. Well, it's really swinging into action. We had a couple of hors d'oeuvres last week, but we've got some big action coming up and looking forward to chatting about it. Of course, all of that from a betting perspective. A quick shout out up bright and early in Asia. Mark Dunphy joining us. He says good morning because it's morning for him. And that's the beauty of technology these days. People can be watching from all over the world. And a man down in Cape Town, let's bring him in, the Oracle Rugby, Gavin Cohen. Gav, how are you keeping, mate?
I'm very good, thank you, Brent. I'm just, I wouldn't say surprised. Pleasantly surprised, I suppose is the right word to use, that it's just you and I. But yeah, listen, I'm also surprised that you invited me after a horrific week last week. In fact, I was telling the guys at work and my mates that out of the, I'm going to say 10 odd punts I had on the weekend, it could have been slightly less or slightly more, but the only one I got right was South Africa winning the cricket match against India. It just all went pear-shaped for me, like properly pear-shaped. I mean, I'm well down after last week. Looking to bounce back nicely this week.
Yeah, well, I've got to tell you, Gav, I didn't have the best week myself. I said the week before I'd never placed so many winners. I think I had like 10 out of 11 winners. And last week was totally different. The only good thing for me is, and I'm not even sure what the reason was, I think I just didn't fancy things that strongly. I didn't want to give it all back the next weekend. So I wasn't betting too big. But two things I want to talk about before we get into the show. The first was, of course, our 500 Rand bet, which I've got to say I felt a bit guilty. I kind of twisted your arm into that one. But I've got to say, Gav, you said you took England minus 37.5 against Australia in the ladies' rugby. It was pouring with rain. And let me tell you, I don't know if you watched that game. I think you woke up afterwards and you saw the score. They won by 36. I won the bet. But I can tell you, you were spot on there, mate, because I don't know how England never beat that handicap. They missed about 6 conversions from in front of the post. So let me tell you straight away that very, very stiff on that one.
I remember having a discussion with Henrik. In fact, he almost challenged me for my comment. I backed the Chiefs to beat the Crusaders in. They were playing in Fiji that year. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago. It was a long time ago. And the Chiefs had scored more tries than the Crusaders, and I lost the game. I lost the bet, by 1 point or 2 points or whatever it is. And I made a comment, whether it was on Twitter or on my website, I can't remember. I said, I went the right way, but I lost the bet. And, you can think however you like with that kind of thing. You know what it feels like to just lose a bet, and you feel like you've done the right thing, and you look at the stats and you look at the game and all of that, and you say, hang on, I actually went the right way here. It just didn't go my way. And a lot of people will say, well, you didn't pick the winner, whatever it is. And in this case, I think I lost by 14 or 16 conversions missed in the end, or whatever it was, right, 10 geez. Or 12. And you remember when I started at Hollywood all those years ago, I had that, I created that bet called All Kicks to Count. Yes. And if All Kicks to Count arrived here, I'm obviously a winner, because it was just the conversions that lost the game. But yeah, I mean, that's how it is. And you can't win them all. I didn't watch the game. I did remember I had a bet. I knew it was Sunday morning, and I'm just moving my chair that's on wheels here. I woke up on Sunday morning and thought, hang on a second, it's my bet with Brent. Let me go and have a look. Game was over. I think it'd been over an hour already. I got up quite late and realized that I'd lost by a point. And I went to go and see how I'd lost by a point. And obviously it was all the conversions. So I don't know what the game was like.
Yeah, look at what, England were, I was quite worried, I'd say from about the 15th minute onwards. And I guess I did have a bit of a laugh to myself, because the last conversion, she nailed from the touchline in the wet. And I was thinking, I don't know if it was a different kicker. I think it probably was. But I was thinking, like, all of those other kicks missed to land me that bet. But that was also my best bet in the newsletter, where we're on a nice run. I haven't counted. I'm a bit superstitious. I haven't gone back and counted. We've strung a good few winning weeks together. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do go down below for that. I've got something else I want to discuss with you, Gab, but we'll seeing that it's just you and me. We'll break the show a little bit in between the rugby. I'll mention that. But let's get on to the Women's Rugby World Cup. I can tell you I haven't loaded the betting. We've got England trading at around the 9-20 mark. New Zealand are back last week at 23-10. I thought they would shorten dramatically. I think they're around 2-1, 9-4. Got France probably about 8-9 to 1. And Canada, the rank outside, is about 20 to 1. Yeah, I got a big bet on New Zealand on the outright. I'm not feeling well. I was hoping. What I'm hoping to do is trade, but I'm not sure I'm going to get that opportunity because if England put in a good performance against Canada, they probably will start short price favourites. But we got a big handicap here, 24.5. I know you haven't watched as much of the Women's World Cup as probably I have because I've been up every night watching. And I can tell you that this is the rolling maul is going to be a popular weapon in this game. There's going to be plenty of kicking, and there's going to be lots of rolling mauls. That England rolling maul is something else, but Canada not bad either. Big handicap here, 24.5 points. The question is it enough, or are you on the English again?
I'm going to say this is not enough. Listen, I've not made a lot of money on this tournament. In fact, I've had just a few bets, but I'm definitely down. Looking at this at face value, I honestly thought this would be in the 30s. I think it's a little bit too low. This is one of those, excuse me, this is a 4-try handicap with 2 conversions. I think England win this game by 6 tries. So this is for me a 29 or 32. And again, it's not big, but this just feels a little bit too low. And I don't mind going for my money back here, but there's no evidence of me that Canada can stick within 24 points, let alone 30.
Well, look, let's get the 500 rand bet out of the way straight away. I'm not terribly bullish on Canada either. I'm just hoping for them.
But you're up, so you're okay.
Canada, and you'll go for England on this one. I've got to say, I'm just looking at a WhatsApp because Harry, I was hoping to have Harry with us again because he's obviously in Ireland, but I think he's either just landed or flying. He couldn't make the show tonight. But I did ask him, I said, Harry, what are your thoughts on the handicaps for the Women's Rugby World Cup? He did fancy Canada a bit, but I must say from what I've seen from punters out there, it's pretty even. I'm going to look at the live chat now and just see what the guys say on that. England.
I suppose it also depends on the weather as well, Brent. I mean, if this is decent weather, they'll get the kicks over, or they'll get most of them over compared to last week. So yes, it might be a kicking situation rather than a performance thing.
Yeah, kicks could make a difference, of course, as well. Funny enough, I'm already looking ahead to what I anticipate the final to be, and I'm thinking if New Zealand make the final against England, we just got to pray. Well, I've got to pray there's no rain because this English side in the rain, that's their strength, mauling the ball. Whereas New Zealand, and we'll talk about them now, they've got very strong wingers and they're going to try to take on England out wide. I would like to make one comment that I saw last week, and just to let you know, the boys are all saying it's too low. Steph says it's too low. Mark Dunphy says it's too low. So, Oracle, you got the boys on your side this week. There's no doubt about that. But I'm happy to take the Canadians there. But that Australian try, and I'm sure the guys who watch the game will agree, that Australian try in the wet conditions just before halftime.
You're talking about the 1-5 pointer, Brent?
The 1-5 pointer. The 1-5 pointer. Oracle off his nuts, says Jason Weir. The 1-5 pointer, and it was in wet conditions. They scored it out wide against England. Now, Australia didn't have a lot of ball to move out wide, and it wasn't conditions to move the ball out wide. But that's the one area where I haven't seen England tested yet, and that's the area, and once again, I don't want to jump too far ahead. I think that New Zealand can hopefully test them next week. But let's not harp on that one too long. The unders train, by the way, guys, I jumped off it last week. But if you'd gone unders in every game last week, look, the weather was terrible in 2 of the matches. And the bookies sort of adjusted for that. But if you had gone unders, you would have made your money, although there were certainly nervous moments. I think there were 2 games in a row where we didn't get any points in the last sort of 10, 15 minutes. And even one score would have taken the unders backers out. So I'm going Canada here. Oracle and let's say most of the guys in the live chat appear to be going for England. Let's get on to the next game then, Gav. New Zealand -7.5 v France. Now, this game I've got quite a bit of opinion from various guys on. I'll be straight with you. I'm a bit nervous to get involved in this game because I've got this big bet on New Zealand to win the World Cup. And, if I back them on the minus and they lose the bloody match, I don't just lose the minus. I lose everything I put on. On the other hand, I'm saying, is this handicap right? I can tell you before I bring you in here, the likes of the conductor on Twitter has been bullish all week, saying he reckons New Zealand put France away. Now, just to give you some background, New Zealand went through a horrid patch coming out of COVID. They were terrible. They were beaten by France and England, hammered. Of course, now they've got a World Cup rugby. And I think my view is that New Zealand are just a totally different side to the one that played last year. They've got top coaching staff in there. They've almost probably had a professional approach for the last 4 months. I reckon New Zealand on the handicap here, but interested in your views on this one.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a question first up, Brent. Which way do you think I'm going here? Let's see if you can spot anything from my facial expressions and my smile up until this point.
Okay, I actually think you're going to go with the All Blacks, like with the Black Ferns. I think you're going to go with New Zealand on the minus. And I'm wrong. I've misread you. You're going for the French.
I'm going to tell you they got the wrong favourite here.
Oh, no, don't tell me that.
I can't believe that France are the plus team. I understand that New Zealand are at home in this fixture, but still, sorry, they got the wrong favourite. New Zealand are going to win this game. So if you've got a ticket for outright, you take your ticket, you go this way, and you chuck it in the bin. It's gone. It's over. Back the French and back the English. This is going to be a Northern Hemisphere. And I know Canada's in the Northern Hemisphere, but this will be a Northern Hemisphere final in New Zealand under the, what do they call it? The land of the long white cloud. Done. France, England final. Six Nations final. They got the wrong favourite here. I can't believe New Zealand are minus here. I really can't.
Yeah, no, I'm going to disagree with you quite strongly on this one. I do think New Zealand are worthy favourites. I see the likes of Stephen and Darren are also going on New Zealand minus. I just think New Zealand have been very impressive. I can't see them not making the final. Having said that, Gavin, I won't lie. I'm worried about this game. This is a potential banana skin. I acknowledge that for New Zealand, but I think New Zealand are going to win this, and I think they're going to win it going away fairly comfortably.
I just want to say to Stephen, Mark, and Darren, who've made a comment here, when I say that, this is like a 1 unit strike. There's no money here. There's no skin in the game. This is a brush off the old arm. It's tiny, seriously. So please take my comments into context. Don't go and lump, pensions on this kind of stuff. This is a bit of fun, and I've got most of it wrong. So yeah, you're probably right to go against me.
Excellent. Well, just before we get into the internationals, I had a quick I don't think we chatted in the week. I think I sent you a couple of voice notes. And I enjoyed this story. I had a couple of business meetings in the week, and I met these guys afterwards, and we started talking about betting, and the guy knows punters and this. And this guy starts telling me these stories, and he's a real character, this guy. And he's going on, and he's talking about some of his wild mates, and he goes, Gavin Cohen, no. And I said, sorry, just stop right there. I said, Gavin Cohen. He says, yeah, Gavin Cohen's big punter, this and that. So anyway, he says, I say, you're talking about the Oracle. So he goes, no, I'm talking about the generator. So I said, no, man, it's the Oracle. And anyway, eventually, I pull up the show from last week and I show him Gavin Cohen. He says, no, that's the wrong Gavin Cohen. Then I mentioned it to you, and you reminded me that on a show when I interviewed you a while ago, you actually had come into contact with that Gavin Cohen, and they called that Gavin Cohen Big Gavin Cohen, and the other one, well, you are Small Gavin Cohen. So I'll find that link and put it up on Twitter so guys can watch that part of it. But I thought, what a coincidence that in the end, the two Gavin Cohens knew each other.
Yeah, no, I don't know him personally. I've certainly spoken to him on the phone a few times. In fact, the first time in the 90s when I was at Atlantic Sportsbet, and obviously more recently when I was at Hollywood. But I remember phoning places, Brent. Hey, who are we speaking to? Give your account number. It's Gavin Cohen. Small Gavin Cohen on the phone. I used to think, why am I being called Small Gavin Cohen? I'm having like 1,000 Rand bet or 1,500 Rand bet. And when I met this, he's rockets, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50 grands on games. It was crazy. So, yeah, I'd love to share a coffee or a beer with Big Gavin Cohen, but I've never met him. I've only spoken to him on the phone. Well, and I did mention him in that video we did.
Well, assuming the guy's not publicity shy, and if he is, it's a bit of a pity because we already mentioned his bet sizes and everything. But my mission is to get a photograph with Big Gavin Cohen and Little Gavin Cohen.
Listen, I'll tell you, I've never seen the Ike Brent, but he's no ways he's as good looking as me. Like, he's not even on the chart. There's no discussion there.
Excellent. Jason saying strange. We're talking about that we're working at bookies. Yeah, Oracle has worked for the bookies for many years, but he does enjoy his punting as well. Let's get into the internationals, though, Gav. The first game I'm going to bring up here, this is taking place under the roof at the Millennium Stadium. Wales plus 12.5 v New Zealand. Now, when these sides last met, Wales were well beaten last year, but it was a very understrength Wales side. New Zealand, I think the handicap was somewhere probably in the early 20s that they pulled clear and won. We've got a New Zealand side that's coming off a bit of a scratchy win over Japan last week, and a Welsh side that's obviously pretty rusty, but pushed South Africa quite hard in the mid-year internationals. I can tell by the look on your face. I can't tell which way you're leaning, but you've got a view on this one. I've got no doubt.
I'm going to tell you a little story, and it goes back to 2015 when South
That's what I
Africa
should have read
played.
into that expression. Yes.
South Africa played Japan in Bristol, and obviously we lost. And we were 1-33, so 0.03. And I was having a chat with a guy in the office, and he said to me, like, I'm so crazy taking this. And I said, well, it's stealing money. I didn't have a bet on the 1-33, and obviously South Africa lost. But the reality is, I made a comment that day, and I said, you know what? It's one of those teams that'll never beat South Africa, and they'll never beat New Zealand and whatever. And here we are, Japan losing by 1 last week. And you think to yourself, and you know, I was there. It was my father's 50th birthday, 1995, the 4th of June, when New Zealand beat Japan 145-17. You might remember the game in Bloemfontein in the World Cup. And like you look at that result, and you think to yourself, yeah, exactly.
No,
and they scored 21 tries, and that kicker, I can't remember his name, something with a C. He got, I think, 17 or 18. Kristen Cullen.
And there was a winner who scored 8 tries or something ridiculous.
Yeah, and I got like 17 conversions. And you think to yourself, like, there's no ways in your lifetime this team will ever beat New Zealand. And we've seen it. We've seen South Africa lose to Italy first time, Argentina, Japan. You know, these kind of results have happened. We've just seen Ireland beat New Zealand. So, you know, I'm going to retract everything I've said for 30 years and say anything's possible. What I will say about this particular match is I can't be taking New Zealand. I've taken New Zealand minus a couple of times in recent history, and I've just seen my ass. And I remember chatting to Charles Savage from Global Trader GT, where I used to work when I was a bit younger. I remember telling him the one day, this is a weakened New Zealand team, and he said to me, there's no such thing. And that held true for many years. But today, I'm going to say this is not. There is such a thing as a weak New Zealand team. This for me is the handicap looks about right. I'm going to say rather take the 3-1 or 7-2 you get about Wales on the board, or don't have a bet. Going minus here, you're wasting your time. You're going to go through a roller coaster of hell. It's like having a bet on a tennis match. Don't do it. So back Wales to win the game, or don't have a bet, because this handicap looks about right, but Wales definitely can win this game. New Zealand are horrific. In fact, we were talking about the Ireland game, and in fact, I'll wait till we discuss the Ireland game. But seriously, this for me, a little bit of value here backing Wales at home. New Zealand are on their knees and they're begging, and nobody is chucking coins their way.
Yeah, interesting. I just quickly mentioned the total points line is 54.5. We do know that the roof is going to be closed. I see a few punters, I think, on the Good for the Game forum leaning overs there. But I've also seen quite a bit of division on this game. Southpaw, one of the stalwarts on Good for the Game, and he's obviously also got his Twitter account as well. He came out early in the week. He said New Zealand are going to blow Wales away, and he went for them. And I kind of expected Southpaw is normally quite a good indicator of where the punting money is going to go. He's a shrewd punter, and I expected a lot of support for him. But in actual fact, quite the opposite has happened. The majority of punters have come out and said Wales on the plus, which has interested me. But I've had a look at this, Gavin. I'm actually of the other opinion. I'm with Southpaw here on this one. I think New Zealand at some point are going to stretch clear and blow this Welsh team away. It's not that I think New Zealand are that strong, although I like certainly the team they picked there. I think they like the fact that they're the sort of team you don't want to play under the roof, because they like to move the ball around and that sort of stuff. Wales have a habit, for example, when they play South Africa, of somehow slowing the game down, bringing us down to their level. They don't seem to be able to do that as well against New Zealand. And I'm actually going for New Zealand here on the handicap. I think you can get minus 11.5. And for me, New Zealand, quite a nice call. Although, like Southpaw, I'm also looking at the New Zealand points line, which I think is about 32.5. I might go for that. I could see you're almost nodding no, you're almost looking at me like a disappointed parent.
I might do what I did with a conductor a few weeks ago, and rather stick up 3 bets here. And if you get all 3, you get 1,000. And if you only get 2, you get 500. Because I would back Wales here. I mean, I'm not the plus punter here. For me, it's about price. You can get a decent price. Can they win? Of course they can. New Zealand just don't impress me, and it's one of those. It's Wales here or no bet. It's like I'll never go New Zealand in this fixture. I'm just not going to. So,
but do you want to have a 500 on here, you and me?
No, well, let's talk about it. So we got the Women's World Cup here. Let's line up three. We'll do the three at the end of the game, at the end of the show.
No, excellent. We'll do that. I just want to ask you
just one more thing, Brent. Sorry, talking about the show. So I'm having these meetings at work on the Skype and Zoom and all of that, and I'm going, did you see the guy on the show? And they're looking at me like I'm mad. It's a meeting. I'm calling it a show like this. I've had so many shows and so little meetings. I'm calling meeting shows. So there we go.
Excellent. Steve asking me if I think the water swirling around the other way up north will improve New Zealand prospects. Yes, Steve, no doubt about that. The All Blacks are going to win this one, and they're going to win this one comfortably. I just want to ask you very quickly as well. I've seen that it's the two of us on as well. Oracle Risk. Now, I've seen Oracle Excel. I've seen
I
was just tell us quickly.
I was logged in there earlier. Sorry, I didn't do that on purpose.
No, that's fine. But what's it about you? I know you're a Risk player. You play online.
Yeah, I'm a grandmaster actually, and I just haven't put the. I want to record the games and put them on YouTube. People can watch them. But yes, that's one of the things I'm very, very good at. Been playing since I played with my grandfather and father when I was a kid. That's just a game I'm very good at. And I know you were at my place recently, and I had Brendan beat us and Rod. It wasn't a great game on the board, but yes, I'm very good at the game. And my wife gets pissed off at me because every time I get home from work, I have a game. I'm very good. So yeah, that'll come eventually.
I haven't played in years, but we used to play board games that used to go on all night. We used to eventually have chess pieces worth like 20,000 armies and that. It's an absolutely great game. And yeah, I mean, if you're struggling to sleep at night, looking for a cure for insomnia, look out for Oracle's Risk channel. I'm sure you'll be able to put you to sleep with some of his games.
It's got 0 followers and 0 videos, so I'll get there eventually.
Right, let's move on to the next game. This is taking place at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. We've got Ireland -4.5 against South Africa. Now, I'm going to make a statement here, Gav. I thought this would be closer to 6.5, and I still think that's where it's going to start. I think the money is going to come for Ireland. It hasn't really come yet. But at the end of that, we got 4.5. There was 3.5, depending where you look. What are your? I'm not going to give you too much of an opinion on this until I've heard yours.
Brent, I'm with you. I actually expected as close to 8. Actually, I just thinking about this game over the last few days. I've come to the opinion that initially, when Ireland went to New Zealand and won those 2 games, I thought, wow, and I obviously made money on them. I lost in that first game, and then I won on the next couple, and then we saw Argentina beat them, and then we saw Japan come a week ago losing by 1, and I think to myself, how big was that New Zealand loss to Ireland? Sorry, how big was the Ireland win over New Zealand? I'm going to put it to you in a graph scenario. So this is the Ireland win. I'm going to get my hands together. Sorry, when they beat New Zealand, and here we are after Japan beat them, and the value of the Ireland win. In other words,
I hear what you're saying.
And I'm thinking, if you'd offered me this bet at the end of July, I would have climbed into Ireland. But today, I'm going to say, you know what? There's nothing here for me. The New Zealand, they lost to Argentina. They almost lost to Japan, and I obviously made a comment earlier. I've got to believe that this Ireland win was bigger, in our opinion, in July. Today, it's not as big as what we thought it was. So I'm going to go South Africa on the board here. I know they can win. It's not a big bet. It's more, in fact, it's about 70% patriotic and 30% value. And I'm going to have a small bet on South Africa to win here. I don't really have anything to convince anybody to go with me. It's a small bet for me. I just think it's too big about South Africa here. And I know we don't have a great kicker, and I've heard about the whole team. Colby's back for the first time in a long time. I don't know. I just have a feeling that, I've convinced myself that the way I felt in July is wrong, and I should feel correctly today. So I'm about South Africa here. Not a big strike, but I'm definitely on South Africa.
Steve Reed agreeing with you. He says no messing
around. Yeah, on the board for me. Sorry, I'm not even going to take the 4 or 5. I'm going board here, 16, 17, 18 to 10, whatever I can get. I haven't had a bet yet, but I'm definitely going board here.
Stephen coming in, just saying Sexton to outkick Willem. So close win for Ireland. I'm also not firm on this game, but Steve, I'm kind of in your camp there. That's kind of where I see it. I just want to bring up this one. This is an interesting bet. Darren Holiday saying either team by 7 or less, including the draw, at just under 13 to 10 on Sunbet seems like the bet of the weekend. Now, the first thing I'll say is I would always be wary of making this a really big bet because it's like I always say with a 1 to 12 margin, you always sort of, well, unless it's level going into the last minute, you're always one score away from losing. Having said that, I think what he's identified here is potentially a very good bet because ultimately here, either team can win the game as long as we don't have a winning margin of 8 or more. And you're getting, as I say, close to 30-10. I predict this particular bet will start closer to 11 to 10 come kickoff.
All right, Brent, I'm going to, you know what? I never take these bets. And I do occasionally take the 1 to 12s. And when I do, I take them when it's the plus team. And I say to myself, this team can't win by more than 12, but they can win the game. So that's the kind of time I take that. In this situation, your only danger here, Darren, in my opinion, is South Africa winning by 9 or more, or 8 or more. I think it's 9 or more. And that's not a problem to hedge that because you've got the plus team. You take the plus team to win the game, or any team to win, and you cover. And when I say cover, I'm talking about stake cover only, not profit cover. If I get this wrong and I spend 100 Rand, I want to win 100 Rand if South Africa win by more than. And I'm going to say that -8 South Africa is probably, could be as much as 8 or 9 to 1. So you stick your 100 or your 1,000 on the 12 to 10, 1.28, and you stick a 0.1, which is obviously in relation to your stake, on the South Africa minus. And that's the only thing you'd worry about. Can Ireland win this game by more than 8 points? I'm going to say no. If Ireland win this game, it's by a couple. Maybe 6 at most, maybe 7 at most. They won't beat 8. So, that's a very, very good bet. Well spotted.
Just to let you know, I'm just popping onto World Sports Betting. South Africa minus 8.5, not as big as we might have hoped. They're 7 to 2. Would have maybe expect more. But I hear what you're saying with that strategy. It's not the way I generally like to bet, but I do like that bet. I think either team by 7 or less is certainly in with a big chance there.
Yeah, where I was going, Brent, is more about which side has got the danger of beating that bet. And I've got to say South Africa have, not Ireland. That's where I'm going with that.
Right. Well, good thinking, Oracle. That's something we don't often see on the show. Thanks for that chat. Now, Oracle. Steve and Jason going at it in the live chat there. Right, let's move on to the next game. France minus 13.5 against Australia. Now, the French, they had a 100% record in the Six Nations. They're coming back. There's head shaking like you cannot believe it. Australia, last week they beat Scotland, a slightly weakened Scotland side. And I've got to say, they were pretty fortunate in the end because Scotland missed what looked a very makeable penalty there. We got 13.5, but the way Oracle's shaking his head tells me either they got the wrong favorite here or they got the wrong handicap by some distance.
Yeah, this should be 25 or 28. They're way short here. This is 13. The first number's wrong, and it shouldn't be a 0. It should be a 2 or 3. France will win this game easily. That Australian team, they won that game, but they didn't do it with the referee. What's that guy's name? Craig Jabir. They didn't have him, did they? He's not back out of suspension and retirement or whatever. So, honestly, I think France win this game easily. There you go. Stefano 86. I'm hoping you weren't born in 1986 because that sounds like you're quite young and I was only 15 at the time. But exactly. He's 100% right. France by 20 plus, possibly 30. I'm all with that. If you're looking for a best bet of the weekend, this is it. This one's race over. Australia don't stay even close. No ways.
Right. Well, we're not going to have a bet on this one because I'm very much in your camp as well. I am, and everyone knows I love the French, and I've been telling everyone. I was actually, believe it or not, jogging with a guy this evening, and he's not a betting guy, but he likes to ask me about my betting. And I said the one thing I regret after the last World Cup, France 10 to 1. I said to my wife, we take 100,000 out the bond and stick it on the French. She wouldn't let me. I blame her for that. They're now 5 to 2.
Hold on a second. I got my wife to deposit her salary into a betting account. Did you try and get your wife to put a bond payment on? That's even worse. Wow. I thought I'd been looking at the bottom of the barrel.
I enjoyed Darren saying, agreed with Oracle too often this week. Darren, go back and do your homework, mate. And Steph said, yes, he's born in 1986. What does that make him? 36. It's not that young. We're just bloody old, Gav.
No, not 36. Is he 36? Seriously? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there
And
you go.
by the way, next week this time, I'm not sure if I'll get someone else to host the show. What happens? I might still do it. It's actually my birthday. I'm turning the big 50.
Are you the 12th or the 11th? What are you? 12th? 10th?
10th. The 10th.
10th.
The 10th.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
Good memory, eh?
The big 50. Yeah. So yeah. Right. Let's move on to the next game. Then. So we both.
Sorry, Brent. I didn't get the invitation. Did you send it to the wrong address?
You know what, Gav? I had this big thing planned. I was going to do. No. Seriously, I can't tell you how many people I told I was doing a massive 50th, but I've had a lot of things in my life. Like I've quit my job. I've gone out on my own. Like just so many things have happened in my life, and I'm just. My wife's even saying to me now, like, we don't even know what we're doing next weekend. She said, well, give me a list of people to at least invite for a bra or something. And I'm like, But like 6 months ago, I was telling people, I was going to invite mates from overseas. It was going to be the hell of a bash. And in the end, it just hasn't happened. But I'll probably go out for a good few drinks, I would imagine.
I was supposed to have my 50th at Stokers in Durban.
Yes, I remember
and
that.
And of course, COVID came along. So what I've been telling people is when I was 47, I hit a 4. And I got to 51, and I had my 50th at 51.
That's it. I think I might do something similar to that as well. Let's go on to the next game. England minus 14.5 against Argentina. I must have all the matches. This is probably the one I've given let's call it the least attention to. I was just skimming through past results between these sides. And I mean, I'm imagining what have we got here? England haven't lost to Argentina since June 2009. And if we look at the last game at Twickenham, they won by 13. Prior to that, it was 13. Prior to that, it was 19. So, yeah, I suppose the handicap for me, Gav, looks fairly well set on this one.
Yeah, it's a tricky game. And as you've said, a couple of 13s there. I think the last time, or let me put it this way, I think if I remember correctly, looking at results here, that England probably beat this handicap once in the last 6 or 7 games. So it's not something that, they haven't beaten Argentina by a lot more than 14 regularly. And I don't think they've done it recently. Excuse me. Argentina are going to come into this game well refreshed from beating New Zealand and doing okay against South Africa. I say okay. This is not a massive punt for me, but I've got to believe that Argentina will keep this close. It will be a small one, but I can't be taking the minus here. I think it's too close to the World Cup for England to go and risk all sorts of injuries. And I see Stefano 86, going minus here. I can't be on the minus here. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do. For me, it's a small bet, Argentina plus. I'm not confident, but I won't go England.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards England here, but I'll have to have a good look at this one. Johan Esther isn't coming in, saying England by 1-12.
Johan's probably right. It's probably a close England win here. 1-12. In fact, that looks like a decent bet. 17-10 instead of the 8-10 plus Argentina. I just don't think it'll be the other way. And I say 17-10. It often is. Sometimes it's 16-10 or 18-10, that 1-12. But yeah, Johan's right. I think that's probably the right way to go here.
Just a quick one. I'm just bringing back a chirp from earlier on the show, Mark. I don't know if you're still on the line. I met a Brent Graham from Durban yesterday on the beach in Vietnam. How's that? I've never met another Brent Graham. And Mark, I'm imagining he was quite a good-looking chap, but maybe you can just confirm that if you are watching there. We normally are us Brent Grahams. Now, Gav, this next game, I'm putting it up here. I'm not. I don't know. I don't have a firm view. I've just seen a bit of banter on this game.
I saw this, and I was wondering if we were going to talk about this. And where are you seeing betting here? Where is that coming from? Because I didn't see any betting. I saw the fixture.
I either got it from Sunbet or Play. This was from Player Bets, so the odds are correct. I know that I think it opened like Ireland plus 3.5 or something, and the money seems to come for the Irish. But I think, and I don't want to sort of put words in his mouth that he didn't say. I think the conductor was leaning towards New Zealand on the minus here. So I don't have any firm view on this, but I thought I'd ask you and then maybe see if the boys in the chat have got any views on this game.
I'm going to give you the alphabetical answer here. When you see an A or an XV next to any team, you go like whatever your stake was, divide by 20. This is a 0.125 kind of stake game. And in this case, I'll go Ireland on the board. Haven't even looked at it, but you cannot go big on games like this. You just can't. When you see an A or an XV or any kind of alphabetical letter following going after the name of the team, just run for the hills and, just put a few coins on it. You can't go big here. And if you do, you'll have a brave.
Reverend's actually got perhaps the right idea, then wait for a points line on this game. And I just want to quickly have a look. I don't think there was a points line. This game does take place tomorrow night, so that in itself makes it a bit attractive because it looks like it's the only game.
Of course it does.
We've probably got
scary.
Yeah.
Attractive can still be scary.
It can. That's for sure. Darren also saying waiting for points. Stephen, well, I think he's kind of echoing what you're saying there, Gav. He's saying no, thank you very much. And I agree. We do have a points line. I don't think we've got it necessarily here in South Africa, but 51.5. And I'd have to say if I'm sitting at home on Friday night, which I most likely will be, and waiting for the Women's World Cup the next morning, I'll have a go at over 51.5. I think that's
so. My horse racing punter friends have got a saying, and they'll say it very often: it can run without my money. And this is the kind of game that you can say, listen, this game can play without my money. Doesn't matter who wins, doesn't matter who loses. I'm not going to go big on it. And they're right, because you want to get involved in everything and you want to think you're right with everything, but you're not. And sometimes you've just got to say, let this game play. Let it play. It doesn't matter.
Right, now, Gab, we'll go into our best bets now. And I guess let's formulate, if you want to do the treble like you did with Conductor, we can just have the 2 bets. It doesn't matter, or 1 bet, whatever. We'll figure that out as we go through now. So we'll pop onto the best bets, and then I'll add our treble on here as well so we can put it up at the end.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. South Africa. The England rugby game, you went against England, right? So that's 1, okay? The next one was France, New Zealand. Were you going France or were you going New Zealand?
I'm New Zealand.
Okay, so I'm France, right. In the France-Australia game, you're going with me? You also agree with France?
Yes, I also agree with France there, so we won't go with anything there.
Ireland, South Africa, are you strong anywhere there?
Ireland, South Africa. You like South Africa on the board. I'm prepared to go with the Irish there at 4.5. I'll take you got plus 4.5 South Africa.
Notch that one down. The England, Argentina. Are you minus England or are you ambivalent? Ambivalent.
I think not too strong on that one.
Okay, and I'm not even going to call this Irish A1. What was the other one? Wales, New Zealand. What did you like there?
Wales, New Zealand. I'm quite strong on New Zealand there.
All right, so we've got possibly 4 games here.
Could be. I'm happy to drop the Irish game because I don't have a strong view on that, and rather throw the New Zealand.
Okay, I'm happy. All right. Okay. So you are. So right, let's go.
Bring them up now. Bring them up.
Yeah, put it up on the screen. That'll be great.
Look here, we have a look.
I don't have to think too much about it.
BGV Oracle, Canada
there
plus 24.5, New Zealand minus. Obviously, I've gone for my fancies here. New Zealand minus 7.5, and New Zealand again minus 12.5. I've got to tell a quick story. I'm going to mention this in the newsletter tomorrow. One of the guys, not the guy who knows Big Gavin Cohen, but the other guy that actually introduced me to the guy who knew Big Gavin Cohen. He's a subscriber to the newsletter, but he says to me, geez, you got your best bet all wrong last week. You owe me £10. He's got an offshore account on me. He just goes straight to the best bet and he puts £10 on. So what are you talking about? The best bet won. It was Australia plus 37.5. He just saw Australia and somehow read it that I was saying there would be more than 37.5 points or something in the Scottish game. So he bets on the wrong game. And he says to me, yes, you got it well wrong. I said, but you got to read the explanation. So anyway, enjoyed that one. But take us through so we got Canada plus 24.5 for me. I'm not confident about that, but I'm pulling for it. New Zealand, the 2 New Zealands. Yeah, I'm very confident about the men's New Zealand.
Okay, so we'll do what we did 3 weeks ago. 1,000 Rand if you win 3-0, and if you win 2-1, it's 500.
Brilliant. 100%.
Right, I'm happy.
And excellent, man. Let's have a look. Prediction from Darren. He says 2-1 to the Oracle.
Darren, only 500, Darren. Come on, I want the grand.
Darren, I think my advice to you, Darren, is don't bet this weekend. You're on the wrong side of the fence, son. Don't bet. And let's just get let's just have a look. Best bet for Stephen, New Zealand woman over Fiji, Hong Kong. Oh shit! But we got the Hong Kong Sevens this weekend as well. So we'll have to.
You know what worries me about this Hong Kong Sevens sprint? It's the wrong time of year, and I've got 2 mates that live in Hong Kong, and they tell me This is a March tournament. This is not a November tournament. And also, I think it's the first time in 15 or 18 years that Hong Kong have opened up the season for sevens. It's always been Fiji, followed by Cape Town. Sorry, not Fiji, Dubai, followed by Cape Town. This is an odd time of the year for Hong Kongans. I don't know if I've pronounced it correctly or whatever.
I don't know either, but I'm going to say it's incorrect. I'm 100% sure.
It sounds wrong, correct? Yeah, they say that this, even the people, the man in the street is going like, Hong Kong sevens is now in November? What's going on? It's a March tournament or April tournament. What's going on? So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, and also, sorry, this is the first time in League Sevens that Great Britain have formed a team. So no more Wales, Scotland, and England. In fact, because of that, there's now 3 minnow teams now. The first one is Uruguay, Spain, and Japan, which will be full-time players or teams for the year, as far as I understand, all because England, Wales, and Scotland, being Great Britain, have opened up 2 places. So very interesting for sevens this year.
I mean, it should make them stronger, but I would imagine there's a lot of unhappiness about that decision within some of the countries as well. I mean, it narrows the opportunities for the players. So, yeah, we'll watch that one with interest. I know a lot of the boys on the forum and on Twitter are big sevens punters. I'm not really one of them. I might have 1 or 2 bets over the weekend. Let's just run through your Hans treble here. All men, Wales over New Zealand over 54.5, England 1-12, and France minus 13.5, and that's coming in at 9.2 to 1. That's quite a nice one.
Yeah, your Hans on to something. There's nothing wrong with that bet. It looks like a hell of a lot of value at 9.2 to 1 or 9 to 1. I've got to say it's probably around about 4 or 3.5, 7-2 to 4 to 1's worth of price. And you're getting quite a lot of value there, in my opinion.
Excellent. Yeah, no, it does look like a nice one. By the way, I discovered a new feature last week, and I know it's not new, but it's new to me, on Betway. And I took the weekend, the newsletter treble, and I can actually post the bet that if you can click on the link and copy my accumulator if you want to. The prices in that may change. But I thought that's a good feature. I definitely think it's something all bookmakers should look at doing. I don't know that many that have it, but I'll probably do that again tomorrow as well. But Gav, that brings us to the end of the show. I think it's a long time since you and I have chatted one-on-one, probably going back to that interview of yours. I'm going to find that link and tweet it as well so that guys can hear about big Gavin Cohen if they want. But we're having you on the show, mates. And, hopefully you have a good weekend, but not too good in these 3 games down below.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to a good week, Brent, after having 2 weeks ago it wasn't that great and last week was horrible. A week before that was fantastic. So, yeah, you do get them. And, when you have a good week like I did 3 weeks ago, you think you're, marvelous and you can beat the world. It doesn't work like that. So, yeah, I don't mind. And, in fact, I backed South Africa today. I know in the cricket, I know they were 4-10 when they came out. I've got a standard line of 7-10. I won't go lower than that. So I'm waiting patiently for South Africa to get over 7-10. Like, so 95 for 5. I backed them at 0.75, so just over 7-10. And next thing, it's 70 runs or 5 overs, and Pakistan win the game comfortably. And then I get my father from America going, does that mean it's the end of South Africa? I said, no. They're probably going to finish top of the group, and they will qualify. They're playing Netherlands next. He goes, oh, it's just checking that you're awake. So I didn't even realize it myself, but South Africa didn't have to win this game today.
Look, there's only one thing, Gav. I agree with you. And yesterday I was going to tweet that exact same thing, and I just never got around to it, because to say that this game actually means nothing. However, there is one difference there. If for some reason our game gets rained out and the Pakistan-Bangladesh game doesn't get rained out, then we're in trouble. Because
Hold on. Zimbabwe, you're going to beat India. Don't worry about that. So that's already over. That's done. I've seen the results. It's in the
if Zimbabwe beat India,
universe.
We should.
So yeah, no, South Africa qualify. Yeah, don't worry about it. Rain's not stopping us.
But the rain can stop us in one way, and it's highly unlikely because there's no rain forecast. That's the first good news. The second good news is the Pakistan-Bangladesh game's also taking place after our game. So the chances are, if one game gets rained out, other one will. But how's this? That last World Cup, we went out on net run rate. Okay, we didn't. I think we only lost one game, but we had a worse. They've now changed the rule. So if we finish level, if our game's rained out and Pakistan and Bangladesh have a result, okay, we finish on 6 points with a superior net run rate. They've now changed the rule to most wins. And because we would then have had 2 games rained out and they would have each had 3 wins, we only would have had 2. We would actually go out. Can you believe that? And thankfully, it's unlikely. It's, but how about that? I mean, geez, it would just be like South Africa to bow out in that fashion.
Brent, as long as Sean Pollock, who I actually met in a till queue at Checkers in Hillcrest in Durban, I didn't say anything to him because I couldn't think of the exact words I wanted to say. But as long as Sean Pollock announces that to South Africans, I'm okay with it.
Excellent. Well, listen, Gav, thanks very much. And to the guys in the live chat, as usual, excellent contributions throughout the show. Boys, really looking forward to working out the newsletter actor this week. I'm determined to hit it. And yeah, we'll look forward to catching up with you guys next week. I may or may not be on the show, depending on what's happening with my birthday. But looking forward to turning the big 5-0 and hopefully making it a profitable one. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.